Hi guys, and welcome to the Leeds vs Sunderland match review. So Sunderland have just come away with a 0-0 draw away from home at Elland Road, which for me is a good point. It was a good performance. We played our system to a T. It was the exact same system that we used in the reverse fixture, and it worked. And limiting Leeds to 0 shots on target away from home, given their quality, and it is a Premier League side. Leeds are definitely a Premier League side. They've got Premier League quality riddled throughout the squad. It's good. It said there's plenty of positives to take away from that. However, Leeds will absolutely feel aggrieved with a couple of penalty shouts. But other than that, they can't really complain because they didn't test us anywhere near enough. And that's when we need to give ourselves a little bit of credit, because defensively, I think we were phenomenal at times. And like I said, we did play the same system. I will get into it. We played the same system that we did in the reverse fixture with the 5 at the back, out of possession, and then we had wing-backs in possession. We had O'Nien, Ballard and Trey Hume making up a sort of back three. The right wing back, we had Pembele starting for the first time, getting his first start for the club on the right. On the left, we had Styles coming in. Then in the middle, we had both Dhannoo and Ekwa. Then we had Job up top with Clark on one side and Chris Rigg on the other. Now, getting into the game, it was one of those where we pretty much just have to concede the fact that we're not going to have all the possession. And despite our sort of recent run of form and how poor we have been since the turn of the year, or for a large portion, we are generally a team that does like to control the play. We have most of the possession, so it's quite a different Sunderland to watch, and it can be quite difficult to watch at times when you're essentially just giving the opposition possession, just hoping you get something on the counter-attack. And in the first half, we did do that, and it wasn't a case of just solely just getting the ball when we get it and just give it straight back to him. We would allow possession, and then when we did have the opportunity, we were very calculated and very intelligent. And when we did go forward, and we did have a handful of little half chances ourselves with Clark driving forward. A couple of times where Clark did get forward, and his pass across goal would be cut out, or he'd go for goal himself, and it was saved. So we were making little opportunities here and there. Chris Rigg looked very bright on the right-hand side. The one frustration for me, and again, it sounds like I'm always picking him out, but out of the whole bunch, it's the one that just sticks out like a sore thumb, and it is Job. And I know he's not necessarily naturally a striker, is he? But something that generally he is relatively good at is letting the ball stick to him and holding it up a little bit, and that's what he can bring to it. But when you need that outlet, if you're going to have any outlet at all, when you're in a game where you are conceding so much possession and allowing that respect to an opposition and letting them have so much possession, we need to have the outlet when the ball is pumped up to you, to be able to keep hold of it and don't let it bounce away from you. And even just the simplest of passes to him, and he's back to goal, it was bouncing off him. His first touch was horrible. He was getting the ball nicked off him time and time again, and he's just walking around, and you've got Jack Clark and Chris Rigg there pressing loads, and he's just wandering around. I don't have a clue what he was told, and he didn't come off until the last minute of the game where Hamir come on, and Hamir literally he was on the pitch for about 15 seconds. Hamir, ball got pumped up, he's sprinted in front of the defender, nicked the ball off him and passed it on to one of our players, and yeah, it was a tiny thing, but Joe Pat done that all game, which was just very, very frustrating. But that was the only sort of real negative I could see, because if we were going to score a goal, it was almost like the lads knew that nothing was going to go through Job. So it did get forced on Rigg on one side and Clark on the other. But Rigg and Pembele looked very good on the right-hand side, and I give that to Pembele. He did give us a bit of an outlet, a little bit dodgy at times, and he wasn't absolutely perfect, but he looked half decent. And there was actually a couple of times where Somerville, when he did get in behind maybe Trey Hume, and Pembele, his pace, he caught up with Somerville a good couple of times and managed to nick behind him, or at least put the pressure on him so he had to stop the sort of momentum of Leeds. And he did that a couple of times, so he did quite impress me, and I quite like the look of him. So that's a positive as well. However, as I said, and I did allude to, there were a couple of penalty shouts, one in the first half where, I can't remember who it was who struck the ball, it may have been Somerville or Rutter on the edge of the box, and it looked like it was destined for the far corner or maybe just wide, and Ballard kind of comes across his body and it hits his elbow. So yeah, there was a shout for that. And then in the second half, again, and in the second half, we didn't get out anywhere near as much as I would have liked. It was just a case of get the ball and just pump it away, and we didn't really have much. But they did have a shout in the box where the ball was in the air, and O'Nien, he hasn't even really challenged it, he's punched it. He's literally just punched the ball, but I think because his arm is just behind the Leeds midfielder, the referee can't see it, so we can't call it. But I'd be massively pissed off if I was a Leeds fan, and I can totally understand why they'd be so pissed off. But they can't blame it just on a couple of penalty decisions. I know in tight games, yeah, you can, but we did limit them to 0 shots on target. On 09, off topic, I know a lot of people just shout about the hand of God here, or just man bowling it. He had an absolute stormer. He was outstanding, Luke O'Nien. A challenger, literally just before that, before the handball, because that came from a corner. The tackle he had to make on Somerville, because Somerville was running rings round us at times, and he got in behind, and Luke O'Nien just bombed in front of him, and it was a perfectly timed challenge, and then Somerville obviously lobs himself to the ground like he did like the last sort of 20 minutes. I mean, second half, I've never seen such a huge succession of dives from opposition players. It was every 2 seconds they were flopping on the floor. The referee was having none of it. Leeds fans are going apeshit, which I get it. When you've got something to play for, you shout for absolutely everything, don't you, regardless. But every little sliding challenge, or every even slight shoulder board, players when they weren't even a Sunderland player near, and they're throwing themselves on the floor, rolling about, clutching. It was embarrassing to watch at times. Like Somerville is an absolute top quality player, but Jesus Christ, flopping about. Bamford the same. He's always been like that though, him, hasn't he? Throwing himself around like a rag doll when no one's touching him. He's just one of those players. But yeah, when you're that desperate, and obviously because of us, we don't have that to play for at the moment. So when we're not as emotionally charged as like the Leeds fans are and the Leeds players are, and you just take it from a sort of just almost a neutral standpoint and look at it. It was mental the amount those players died. They were absolutely soft bastards, and it was mental to watch. Aside that they could have just done us with quality, but instead they were trying to lob themselves on the floor every 2 seconds. But obviously, I think Leeds will go up anyway. I think Leeds are going to go up. But yeah, it's just one of them when you watch it from our point of view. It was made for horrible viewing, just watching so many dives in such quick succession. But yeah, they will definitely feel very hard done by. A couple of penalties. One of them obviously against Ballard, and then the punch from Rory Mcalpine was fucking mental. I'd be livid if I was a Leeds fan. But we defended resolutely. We held on to a 0-0 draw. It wasn't pretty, but I think it just shows it's one of them. If we're drilled correctly, and this is what Dodd has done twice against Leeds now. I think against teams that are better than us or considerably better than us, it's easier to, I guess, to just chuck everyone behind the ball. It's hard for any team. You can put a Real Madrid or a Manchester City against teams you put part of the bus. It's so hard to work through. It really is, and that's all it was. The whole game was them trying to penetrate us, but you have to do your job, and that's what we did. So it's just a case of frustrating the opposition, and we worked it, but it just shows that we can defend against teams like this, but all it needed was a little bit of sprinkling of quality. There was times in there when I thought, right, okay, that defence looks bang on there. Dhannoo looked outstanding in that first half. Ekwa went a bit hit and miss. Like I said, Job was very, very poor. But if we had someone who could really just get control of that midfield, and then an actual striker, we could have easily won that game. We don't have a striker on the pitch. We haven't had a striker for the majority, the entirety of the season, which is going to be our excuse. But still, that's all it needed, and I felt like we would have been competitive, and that was kind of the frustration there. But that was our game plan. We're nowhere near the standard of Leeds at the moment. So to come away with a 0-0 draw at Ellen Road, limit them to no shots on target, it's scraping the barrel for positives, but it is a positive, at a time in which Sunderland are at the moment, so we'll take it. But either way, there's only so much you can talk about a 0-0 draw. We got away with it. Fair play, lads. And there were positives to take. Pembele, like I said, 09 outstanding, apart from the punch. But a lot of them, Styles weren't too bad either. We've given him a lot of shit. He was half decent on the ball. There was a lot of players that, particularly when they pressed us, they panicked and they just pass it straight to a Leeds player at first notice, at first glance. Styles didn't do that. And I'll always, when I play shit, regardless of whoever they are, I'll say this shit. If they're good, I'll give them praise. I won't, just because I've said someone's shit in the past, I'm not going to keep on saying the shit just for the sake of it. It's like with Job. The thing is, the most frustrating thing with Job is there's no in between. He's either unplayable or absolutely god-awful. There's no he played all right today. Because today I think he was atrocious. And again, I think he was really, really poor and didn't offer anything for us, but I'm not going to leave it on a negative because it is a positive point, but it's just one of them. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. I've seen so many contrasting opinions online, so it'd be interesting to see what you guys think in the comments. But if you have enjoyed, please hit the like button for me. It'd be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the SUNDERLAND Army. But for now, take care and stay jammy.